taking all this energy because I am. Hope you're having a great start to the day. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week in the mornings to chat about what's going on in the world of weather. And look, I mean, it is beautiful outside. We're looking from Cocoa over toward Port Canaveral. I see a couple of cruise ships in port. Yeah, looks like it's going to be a lovely, lovely morning. I hope you're having a great start to the day. In terms of things now, our first warning live Doppler radar is pretty quiet across the area until you get literally just outside of Marion County. There is a swath of rain that has been sitting in this spot all night long. I stayed at the office late last night into early this morning just to make sure this didn't get a little too feisty. Just to make sure that this didn't want to move into our area and start flash flooding. Yeah. So far, so good, but it's one of those things. So we're going to have to watch and see how this plays out for our forecast today, because we know there's going to be rain, and we know that there is a continued, before we get to the temperatures, there's a continued flood concern. I believe it's through tonight. Let me just make sure. Stand by. I don't know that didn't get updated today. Flood watch through Friday evening. Okay, so it is through tomorrow night. So there you go. So flood watch posted for Marion, Putnam, Alachua, Dixie, Taylor counties, all the way kind of up through the Panhandle because of this very odd little weather scenario that we've got. And case in point, just look at the live radar. That's our live radar. We tap into the Jacksonville or Tampa radars. Yeah, Jacksonville probably has a better look at it. I mean, it's just pouring. And as a matter of fact, up that way, there is, for Jefferson and Taylor counties, there is a flash flood warning. So yeah, when do we get the showers and storms going? A little bit of rain this morning. I think by about 9, 10, 11 o'clock, though, we're going to start to see a little more stuff developing. And then notice later this afternoon, 60% coverage of showers and storms. It's going to be an active one. We're going to have plenty to track. It's going to be heavy downpours. So just be ready. Just know that, once again, there is stormy weather in our forecast. And with that, I will take a momentary pause to say good morning to you. How are y'all? Good morning, friends. Nice shirt. Thank you, Janice. I appreciate it. Boy, a lot to talk about. We've got the storms. We've got the tropics. A new tropical system has formed. I closed my eyes for a couple of minutes, and Mother Nature's like, you get another one. So we'll talk about tropical depression number 4 that formed early this morning. I haven't even built the graphic for it myself. So, yeah. All right, so that's where we're at today. Let's look at Futurecast. Make sure we're dialed in there. Okay. Get an idea. Did I put double caffeine in that coffee? No, I mean, it's espresso, so at least I'm as taken care of as can be, right? All right, so 9 o'clock this morning, still fairly quiet. There's 12:30. Notice we're going to start to see a little bit of stuff firing up in that window there, right? And then just after 2, 3, 4, like widespread showers and storms around. 5 o'clock. 6, heavy thunderstorms around 7, right? And then 8, 9, 10, another little wave of energy coming in from the Gulf. So it's going to be an active day. It's going to be an active day. Why? Same thing that we have been seeing for days and days and days and days. There's that storm system still hanging out and still throwing out these little pieces of energy. And you can see the next one is getting invigorated all the way through the Gulf of Mexico. And the sheer fact that you're getting radar returns this far out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico tells me those are big storms. Remember, radar is ground-based. You have to scan it from land. So the further offshore it is, with the curvature of the Earth, those storms have got to be tall to show up on radar. So, yowza. Good times. All right? All right. So, flooding a concern. We look at the flood threat for today and for tomorrow, and at least looking ahead to our Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We should be getting more and more into a normal type weather pattern. We should. We're not there now. We're still quite wet. So keep that in the back of your mind. When we talk about futurecast and the amount of rain we could be talking about, if I can find the graphic. My brain is just not. It's just not. All right, so let's dial that up. All right, so that's through, we'll just do through today, just for funsies. So obviously there you go for today. And we're looking at spots in the 1 to 2 inch range. Some spots could be getting 2 to 3 inches. Hopefully we're not into like some significant flooding again today, but it's something we're going to have to watch. Ocala can't handle much more, Jesse says. I know it, man. I know it. Seriously, I get it. I totally get what you're saying. That's why the flood watch is there, to let everybody know that, like, you get more, you're going to have some troubles. That's just what that is. Yeah. All right. All right. To the tropics we go, friends. There are 3 areas that at least we're keeping eyes on. Okay. First, on the left, you've got Tropical Storm Brett. All right. Tropical Storm Brett doing its thing. That's fine. In the center, you've got newly upgraded Tropical Depression 4. And then on the right side, there's a new wave rolling off the coast of Africa. Though that one, the models aren't all that bullish on. So that's good for us. All right, so let's start with Tropical Storm Brett. Maximum sustained winds made it up to 70 miles an hour at 2 o'clock this morning. I was awake to tweet it. It's working closer and closer now to the Antilles. We do have tropical storm watches, tropical storm warnings posted there for several of the islands, and that's just simply because tropical storm conditions are expected across several of the islands. I know there was hurricane advisories, but did they cancel them? Stand by. I need to look at that. I just want to make sure to get you guys the correct information. So it does look like the area that has the tropical storm warning, has the hurricane watch. Oh, okay, so for St. Lucia. St. Lucia is under a hurricane watch, tropical storm warning under effect for St. Lucia, Dominica, and Martinique, and then the tropical storm watch, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the Barbados. So there you go. So there's that. It's going to be, remember, it's not a massive system, but it's still going to be a system that impacts them. So there's that. All right. All right. Here's a look at the forecast path from the National Hurricane Center, just for our timing purposes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there we are. Late this evening into tomorrow, storm system should pass through the Caribbean islands, the southern Antilles there, then getting into the Caribbean, and then notice weakening, getting weaker and weaker south of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. This is not going to be a big bad hurricane. This is not going to be a major hit for our friends there, okay? Heavy rain, sure. Gusty winds, sure. But it's moving quick enough. It's still moving. Notice it's still moving at a decent clip, 15 miles an hour. It has slowed. It was moving at 21 miles an hour. That's what gave it the opportunity to develop a little bit more. But it's not going to be stopped like Dorian was over the Bahamas or Maria over Puerto Rico. And it's not as strong as Dorian or Maria was. Catherine, good morning. Your Energizer batteries are working overtime. Not liking Mother Nature. She's so angry. I know. I'm tired. I'm not even going to lie to you. I mean, I'm tired. But we're doing our we're doing our thing. And that's all we can do, right? So we're doing our thing. Tropical Storm Brett, by the way, was the earliest system to form that far east. And if Invest 93, which I'm going to talk about here in a second, if Invest 93 goes on to become a named system, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 89% sure that if that's the case, it would be the first time in recorded history that we have had 2 systems form in the Atlantic Basin during the month of June. So this is fairly uncharted territory there. So, and that's obviously that's not the kind of uncharted territory I like. But that's just me. All right. Any questions about Tropical Storm Brett? Anybody? Anything? Not a threat to Central Florida. I'll show you the computer models. The computer models do keep Brett working south. Now, you're going to see the pink model there, and you're going to be like, what's going on, Burris? Understand that model essentially has this thing falling apart. And then, falling apart, and then it's like hard to track the area of low pressure. So understand that, okay? When we look at the intensity models for Tropical Storm Brett, they're not bullish at all. That one model is the one model that's like clunked, right? But all of the models generally have it weakening. So Brett, not a concern, thankfully, for Central Florida. Okay? That's that. Shall we move on? Let's shall. This is Tropical Depression 4. It was the artist formerly known as Invest 93. It's looking better on the satellite presentation, sure. Latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center has the storm system becoming Tropical Storm Cindy either today or tomorrow early and working to the west-northwest. Notice it's weakening by Tuesday of next week. Same wind shear that's down here that's going to take Brett apart will eventually take Cindy apart up here. So good. That works for me. Totally okay with that. Not a problem. Not a problem at all for that. Right? I mean, right? Like, not a problem at all. Now, you see that and extrapolate it out and you're like, oh my God, that's terrifying, right? Understand, though, that the forecast models are divergent at the end. And we can look at the graphical models. But the idea is that it's going to start falling apart here. And then it's going to like get absorbed. Does it go a little closer to Bermuda? Does it get a little closer to the United States? That's where we'll have to watch, the computer models to see how that all exactly plays out. Okay. So that's where we're at. And then there's the next wave after these two. Oh, I should show you the intensity models for Tropical Depression 4. My brain is just not seeing it. There it is. Oh my God, my brain. So there's Tropical Depression 4 and bringing it to tropical storm status. At least that's what the models are doing consistently over the last couple of days' time. If that is named, Cindy is the next name on the list. So yeah, good times. Yukon says, Eric, it's Thursday, day off. Take a nice nap today. I'm going to try to, but if I'm honest, I've got Alex. I got home at like 1:30 last night, and the house was awake. Alexander had thrown up. And then he threw up again this morning. So any parent will know, it's like, what blank storm am I going to walk into today? And that's kind of the reality of parenting. So yes, I'm going to take it easy today. I'm off of work today, thank God. But you just never know what is happening at the house. So do I get a nap today? I don't know. I'm gonna try. I'm struggling. I'm going to struggle until I close my eyes again. Yeah. So there's that. All right. Questions about the kind of tropical Atlantic as a whole. If you're asking yourself, well, this isn't normal, right? This isn't right. That's correct. Let's just look month by month real fast. Okay. Where do storms form in the month of June? Not the open Atlantic. Like, that's the June formation zone. It can and has happened elsewhere, right? What about the month of July? We start to tap into the Caribbean and like the extreme Western Atlantic. August, this is a picture much more like what we are experiencing currently, watching that August formation out here in the open Atlantic, right? August, September is essentially what we're looking at. Look, if you know me a while, you know I'm the last thing from a hyper. I'll give you all the information, okay? but I'm not a hyper. Let me pull up. I texted this to Jeremy right after we got off the air yesterday, and I just think that it's an important. Of course, my computer's taking a minute. I think it's an important note to make. Now, some of these academia folks are gonna, add their emotion to it. But I'm going to read you a tweet from Brian McNulty. Okay, Brian McNulty. Just to give you an idea of who he is, he's a senior research associate at the University of Miami. Hurricanes, climatology, sea level rise. He's a meteorological brain. He's not getting emotional in his tweet. He's just putting out raw data. Here, I will. Can I copy the link to the tweet? That way I could show it to you. Give me 2 seconds and I'll get this turned around. Bada bing, bada boom. There. Okay. All right. So here's the tweet. All right. So there's the tweet. Reading it from the top in here, I'll just, I think I can make it bigger. This is where my brain not working is working against me at the moment. All right, I think, yeah. All right. So this is getting utterly unbelievable. I mean, he's not wrong. The North Atlantic sea surface temperatures have just set a new record anomaly on June 20th, beating the previous one from June 10th at an average temperature of 23.24 Celsius. That's 1.11 Celsius above the 1991 to 2020 mean, or 3.87 standard deviations, 1 in 18,650. Yeah. So, when we look at things, okay, when we look at things in the tropics like this, and we see the open Atlantic basin so busy, there's what's going on. Like that's why, and we can, for those of you nerds, which should be everybody here, like there's the image. Give me a second and I'll shrink this so that you can see it. This is where Coffee Talk's production value is not the greatest, but it is what it is. But there's the image. Sea surface temperatures in the North Atlantic obviously swings down for winter, swings up in summer. But look at how in a league of our own we're at. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to be a hyper. That's not what I'm doing. I need you to understand that. I'm going to always show you the data. But I've had a lot of people asking, why is it that you keep saying that the Atlantic is odd this time of year, okay? Because we don't get systems in the open Atlantic normally. And then you look at, now sea surface temperatures are one of the ingredients. Shear, etc., etc., etc. But that thin black line there is this year. Look at how complete. Now, we were cooler than records at some point in February, but we've basically been in record territory for a while. And this is kind of boggling the meteorological minds because people are just trying to figure out what's happening, right? So, is it this reason? Is it that reason? We don't know. But that's a clear example as to why. All right? All right. Questions. I got so behind. I was on a bit of a tangent there, and my brain is not working at full power, so I got behind in the comments, and so I apologize. So anyway, we can go back to chatting and all that. I'll read your comments now, I promise. Mike, please acknowledge Chris Pierce. He loves your shirt so much he wants to snuggle with it. It's a fun shirt. I like it. Drums and flamingos and cocktails and motorcycles. It's kind of like the fun things in the world. Granted, I don't drink anything but coffee and water. I missed my window to be a motorcycle guy. So, oh well. So anyway, that's I just thought that was kind of interesting, right? I just thought that was kind of an interesting little thing. You know what I mean? So that's where we're at. So when we say sea surface temperatures are anomalously hot, I mean, they're anomalously hot. All right. Questions, comments. Where's the Saharan dust layer? It's there, but it's not very active. You know, there's the SAL right now. I mean, it's definitely shooting off some additional moisture from the last couple of days. You know, like we're starting to throw some. That's one of the reasons why Brett's going to weaken, is because Brett's going into that Saharan air. That's TD number 4. That will eventually work into some Saharan air. And this next wave back behind it, this third wave, while there is some Saharan air out ahead of it as well, it's awful far south, and you don't have what's called the Coriolis force. So there's that. All of these things work in tandem. That's why it's like you can't just look at sea surface temperatures. You can't just look at Saharan air. You know, you have to look at everything. My audio keeps going in and out. Looks completely fine on my end, so I don't know. I apologize. Celeste says the Atlantic surface temperature is warmer than my pool water. My pool's 90. I need to turn that dang heater off. It's like bath water in there. Linda, Invest 93 heading to the Florida East Coast. No. And it's not Invest 93 anymore. It's TD number 4. So where is it going, right? Like, let's talk about this a little bit. Let me switch over to the Atlantic Basin, and let's get into some raw computer model data, all right? So first off, this is the GFS. We're going to look at the models, and we're going to look at the ensembles. This is the GFS current run, which is the 6Z. And right at the very bottom of the screen, you see those two like bluish purple dots, right where it says current temp 74 forecast, right there in the center. There's that. All right. Okay, so let's look ahead. There's the GFS bringing Brett into the Caribbean islands. I wonder if there's like a better, so is there Central Atlantic? No. I'm just looking to see what Atlantic views I have. Yeah, this is kind of the best view. Until we get here. Is there a Lesser Antilles? Okay, so there's the Lesser Antilles. So there's Brett coming through the Lesser Antilles. All right. There's 8 p.m. tonight. The storm system moving in, crossing through, and then working through to the Caribbean. All right. So there it is, crossing through bottom right corner, doing its thing, and then weakening. And at that time, you can see on the right side of your screen, there's what could become Cindy developing and recurving. Now, the GFS has it, just to give you perspective, the GFS has it outside of Bermuda. You see that there, that dot? That's Bermuda. So the GFS is actually keeping this outside of Bermuda. So that's cool. We go back a GFS run, and it's just inside of Bermuda. We go back 2 GFS runs. It's a whole ball of nothing. So that's the GFS look. All right, let's switch over to the European, and let's get an idea of what's going on here. Okay, so this is the European model, and there's into the Lesser Antilles. There's Brett. Brett's fading in the Caribbean. Just north of the Lesser Antilles, you've got what will become Cindy. Go one model run behind, and there it kind of gets absorbed. 2 model runs behind. It doesn't go out that far. 3 model runs behind. Gets absorbed. So both the GFS and the Euro want to not only weaken both Brett and Cindy in the long term, which is totally okay with me, but none of them seemingly want to develop up this next wave off the coast of Africa that's kind of trying to come in. So I think that's an interesting little thing. What does that mean long term? Well, we'll have to kind of play with it and see how that plays out. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. All right, so now let's talk about ensemble model data. if you're new to the Coffee Talk world, Ensembles we look at, kind of think of it as 51 flavors of Baskin-Robbins. So this is the GFS Ensemble. It's 51 flavors of the GFS. Not really trying to do much with either system. Yeah. And you can always tell, you see up in around the Great Lakes there, you see all those little L's? Those are different versions of the GFS showing storm paths. So the GFS, not really excited about it. Let's switch over to the European Ensembles. And you see how there are a ton of those L's going into the Lesser Antilles there. That's a bunch of the ensembles showing a tropical system there. So that works. Totally works for me, right? All right. Beyond that, there's some ensemble support for Cindy, but not a ton. And then right in here, interestingly enough, around the 29th, that system behind it, there's some ensemble support for something, but not a ton. So we may get into a little bit of a break, just a little bit of a break for a couple of weeks, and then I think we're probably going to end up getting busier again, looking ahead to the month of July, all right? Your allergies sound like they're getting... I'm just tired. Yeah. I'm just tired. Y'all need to put your nose in the corner. Are we having issues this morning, Taylor? Do we need to punish the kids? Debbie, thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate... Look at that, the comments. And thank you all. It's so nice. So nice of you. I don't even know what... I can't even tell... Like, I can't even see what brand it is. I don't even remember. But thank you for the comments. I appreciate it. Annie's asking, so what areas are being watched for July? So, stand by for a shameless plug, because that's anytime we discuss long-range forecasting, I have to advertise the long-range forecast. Just wait until it goes back to... Oh, there it is. Just wait till it goes back to read it. All of your comments. Oh, boy, y'all. All right. So, wesh.com/hurricane forecast is where you can find it. But there are 3 parts of the weather pattern they're going to be playing in during the month of July. First one is going to be around the Carolinas. So, we're going to be watching around July 4th weekend. July 2nd through the 10th, we're going to be watching around the Carolinas. Then after that, we've got the West Coast area of the pattern that we're going to need to watch, and that's going to be just after July 11th through the 16th. And then after that, and remember, this part of the pattern, the last time the storm moved across Florida and then tried to do some bomb diggity out here off of Florida's first coast. It was that storm system that that Carnival cruise ship went into. It wasn't tropical, but it was a thing. So that was that part of the pattern. And then finally, you've got the East Coast part of the pattern, which goes active like late July. So the month of July as a whole is going to be, I think, a fairly active one. During the month of July, we're going to have to watch our hotspots. All right? Mickey's asking, do you think that the models are wrong about that third wave? Usually in the past I've seen the first systems pave the way for the later waves. You know, it's environmental conditions for them are becoming less favorable for a little bit. But then getting into July, it goes more favorable. So I don't know. It's getting its sea legs, or it's trying to, that new wave rolling off of Africa, but it's not a force to be reckoned with yet. So, there you go. All right. Oh, I'm going to try, Arnett. Oh, I'm going to try. John, did they use the name Invest for a newly developing tropical something? So yeah, that's a good question. Maybe y'all are not familiar. For those of you that have tracked the tropics for a while, this is going to be review. But I'm always about people asking questions that they don't know. Because when it comes to tropical systems, we all need to at least understand what we're dealing with. So, tropical wave. What is a tropical wave? A tropical wave is an unorganized area of moisture. And all it is basically a clustering of breezy showers, okay? Now, an invest is a tropical wave that the Hurricane Center is like, let me code this area off in the computer and tell the computer this is something. I want you to investigate it. Invest is short for investigate. It's still a tropical wave that when it gets tagged as an invest, and that third wave is not tagged as an invest. When it gets tagged as an invest, all it says is that the Hurricane Center wants to start to get some information on it. That's it. Then what happened this morning, that Invest 93 was upgraded and called a tropical depression. All it is an organized area of lowering pressure, and we start to get like some gusty showers and downpours. Brett is a tropical storm. Winds of 39 to 73 miles an hour, stronger winds, tropical downpours, etc., etc., etc. All right? So that's where we're at in the tropics. For now, nothing threatening us in Central Florida. Good gravy. Let us keep it that way. Yeah. All right? We are investing our time and interest for sure. Yeah. Cindy, this new trend in surface temps looks to try and continue. What would you predict for August and September? Curious about what wrenches has been thrown. The interesting thing is looking into August, September, October, November, we should start to pick up wind shear. And so even if the temperatures are boiling, wind shear should, you can't have a ton of tropical activity with a ton of wind shear. So I think that we're going to level that playing field a bit. But we'll just have to watch and see, right? It's tough. We'll have to watch and see. But either way, my friends, I can tell you it's also active here in Central Florida. There are showers. There are thunder showers. There are plenty. Yeah. Yeah. Lots to track. All right. Brian, with all the recent heavy rains, has there been any daily or cumulative rainfall totals broken? I haven't seen anything significant there. And then has there ever been any year that starts an El Nino year with the atmosphere reversed? You don't just turn water temperatures on a dime, Brian, so it's not like you could just go back to a La Nina. But you could have a weak El Nino and a short-lived El Nino, right? Yeah. George says wind shear's our friend. It is. It is. So, all right. There it is. And that's the way it is on this June the 22nd. And if you know that reference, I raise my cup of coffee to you. Have a great day. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you so much. Mike says it would awesome shirt would be better if that shirt had hurricane icons. Yeah, I probably should find something. like that. Do you remember the cat shirt I used to have? Do y'all remember that? Oh, man. All right, listen. It'd be funny if I could get a cat shirt where it was the different cat faces. I would like that. Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5. All right, I'll be tweeting through the day, Facebooking through the day. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will see you all at 3:30. Bye.